did the first press conference. And so 7 days later, I find out about KK from a sheriff's officer who says that she's not in custody, but she has been questioned and she is being questioned. And there's, that the sheriff's officer's like, people don't understand. There's more to this case. There's another woman involved. And, there might be more than one person, but there was never any substantial evidence that pointed to another person. And so at this point, at the warrant hearing, with nothing that's come out in the warrants about another person, there's no other, they've released all the warrants, but 6 of them. And the only reason they haven't released those 6 warrants is because they didn't run them or they didn't get anything back from them. So if there is a third person, then they are definitely keeping it under wraps, which doesn't make any sense at this point. You already are going into arraignment hearing in April, so it's not they're not hiding somebody just to surprise Patrick. Oh, we got the third person. They're already telling the story. If they try to change the story now, it makes everything look suspicious. If they all of a sudden introduce a third person into the equation, then, well, why didn't we talk about this third person before we arrested Patrick? So I think what's happened now is people are getting anxious for more information, and there's no more information that's actually really come out. But that's just my take on it, only because I feel like if we would have had a third person, if there's a third person involved outside of Old Ma, because they've already given us a hint that Old Ma is involved. They've already talked about her seeing the fire. She's already said, I'm not going to testify unless I get immunity. And so, she's already kind of pointed the finger at herself. I think there's a third person involved, but I don't think it's Old Ma, and I don't think it's a woman. I think it's Patrick's brother.
That's an interesting take. See, I knew I needed to talk to you.
That wouldn't surprise me in the least.
Well, if you haven't heard the story of, there's a couple of things. One, there's people that think that Patrick and his brother, or Patrick and KK, have killed before. And there's a story of a woman that was killed here 10 years ago who actually knew Patrick, who her family had property next to Patrick. And then she was suspiciously killed, left and froze. She left in a football field, and then she froze to death. Well, she froze, and they called her death a homicide, or a suspicious death, but it was by hypothermia, another hypothermia case, and so. I actually believe it because I've talked to the mother of the woman, and she tells the story about how she actually went up and interviewed Patrick's ex-girlfriend that we just now heard about on Dateline, the girl that's in jail. And she talks about talking to Patrick's ex-girlfriend, asking her questions. She didn't even know Patrick's ex-girlfriend, but Patrick's ex-girlfriend was involved with some of the people who were with this other girl, and so there were some ties there. So I absolutely believe KK has been involved in a murder before, and Patrick has. KK tells a story of coming down here with coffee, coming down here to beat Kelsey with a pole. She tells it or they tell her story like, oh, you've done this, you've thought about it. They've already, right now I think dates are going all the way back to September of when they started planning Kelsey's.
Yeah, August, September.
Yeah, and so at that point, you have to think these people didn't plan a murder for the first time and then actually maybe get away with it. For all intensive purposes, KK got away with, at the very least, accessory after the fact.
For sure.
And so, she got away with that with a slap on the wrist. And so if there's a third woman, I just think it messes up their timeline. It messes up all their phone ping information and stuff like that. So it would really throw a wrench in the defense's case to keep that under wraps and tell the story that it was KK, right? So you're not going to get up on the stand and say, okay, this is the story that we've corroborated. KK sworn to this. And then all of a sudden, oh yeah, and there's a third girl.
Right.
And so I like the rumors. I like the gossip. I like the trolls out there, talking all this. But it'll be like the Watts case when it's said and done. We probably won't know everything, but I'm more interested on what they haven't told us they have as physical evidence.
Yes.
I'm more interested on all right, we know you got KK's story. We heard a lot about this story. We've heard a lot about this gruesome thing that happened. But do you have the actual physical evidence to back it up?
Someone asks if...
according to the sources I've talked to... Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Ask what? Ask what?
Someone asked if KK is a proven liar, could her immunity go away? So if the evidence we're talking about proves that she's lied. I know they took a lot of physical evidence from her townhome. I know it was mentioned possibly drywall, possibly carpeting, other things like that. I know we're not 100% sure exactly. I know we saw some of those warrants and stuff, and it looked like they might have taken some sort of wall or taken some sort of samples from a wall. So if any of those things prove KK is lying, do you think that her immunity could go away and she could get in more trouble, or does that still seal the deal for her?
Well, so I don't know. I spoke with my dad. I had an interview with my dad. Just a quick breakdown. My dad's been in law enforcement almost 49 years. He's worked for the DA. He's worked for feds. He's worked for state and city. He's been involved in almost 200 homicide investigations. He's testified on the stand about cell phone pings and all that stuff. So I had that podcast is on my YouTube, and I'm going to do some more interviews with him. But when I asked him, I asked him a couple of things. I said, if they get her on the stand and they rip apart her testimony, could they take away her deal? And my dad's not super familiar with the case. He's not like trying to follow the case or anything like that. And he goes, well, has she already pled guilty? Has she already been, has the judge already ruled? And I said, yeah, the judge has already accepted the plea deal. He's already signed the plea deal. The only thing he hasn't done is the sentencing phase. And the reason they held the sentencing phase was so that the only reason they held the sentencing phase was not to go back on her deal, but if she doesn't, it was because if some more information comes out that says, okay, KK was actually here when Patrick killed Kelsey, or something comes out that isn't verified, or a lie comes out in the stand. According to my father, once a judge signs the plea deal, it is very unlikely. It's not impossible, and it's not to say that it hasn't ever happened, but there are some things that a judge can't do, and sometimes a judge can't take back his ruling. My dad wasn't super familiar on Colorado law, or like Colorado Supreme Court law, because that's where that would be decided. If they tried to take her plea bargain back, if they tried to say, oh, you didn't tell us this or you didn't tell us that, if they tried to take it back, it would be a legal nightmare in appeals and back and forth, because when you sign a plea deal, you give up your rights. So you give up the right for an appeal. You give up a right for a trial. You give up a right for a lot of things to sign that plea deal. And so you can't tell someone to give up all those rights and then, oh, well, you lied about the kind of coffee you took her, or it could be any lie. And so I don't think they will ever reverse the decision. That's a real humbling experience for a judge to say, oh, I was wrong. I'm going to take that back. That's just not how the legal system works.
Right.
And
absolutely.
So, could it happen? According to my father, who's worked in the court system and stuff, says it's very, very, very unlikely. My same dad, the same guy, when I asked him, well, Dad, what do you think? Is it possible? I mean, how possible is it to convict somebody without a body? That's very unlikely too. And most of the time, if they can't produce a body or enough, they have to have enough physical. You can't just have a few drops of blood.
Yeah.
A few drops of blood is like oh yeah, that's when she got mad, cut her finger, and she swung her hand at me, or she flung her hand, and that's where you're getting that, or whatever. A few drops of blood are not enough physical evidence to say, oh yeah, there's definitely been a murder here.
Absolutely.
And so I'm scared. Like when people start asking, they're like, do you think he's going to get off? And I'm like, well, if they don't find a body. Now, the thing that gives me hope maybe is that I don't know. They really want to go with this burn story because they're spending a lot of resources down at the dump looking for, remains that are. I mean, you got to look at the search area. It just looks like it's almost an impossible task to find even something that they would even know is part of or remains of Kelsey. And so this isn't going to be as easy and as quick as the Watts case. And I was telling the JS for Justice last night, I was like, man, you guys are still talking about this Watts case, and this guy's been convicted, he's been sentenced, he's been moved out of state, put in jail, and all of a sudden we're now talking about him again. Dr. Phil, we're still questioning what maybe or maybe didn't happen. I was like, Patrick hasn't said a word.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he said private road, private land. He said, yes, I understand. Like, I mean, we can count on our hands how many words he's actually said in public since he's been arrested.
Yeah.
And so he's not giving up any info, which means when he gets up there on the stand, or not, he's not going to get up on the stand, but when they start having court, I mean, the defense attorney, all he has to say is there's only one person that's admitted to being guilty here, and that ain't my guy. He's not guilty, So I do know that supposedly the reason the third girl came up is because I believe Patrick made some phone calls right after. And this is where maybe the rumor comes to, is that supposedly his phone, he called his mom, he called KK, and then supposedly there was a third call made to another woman. That's the kind of the story and the rumor from it. But again, it messes up the story they've already told if all of a sudden they try to introduce a third woman. So
sure.
It's definitely what trolls are bothering you? Are you getting trolled too now?
I had lots of people hating on my music choice for Sunday, which whatever, get out of here, I don't care, and which was hilarious. They were totally ticked about it. And they're like, I wanted to hear what you had to say, but I just couldn't get over the music. You could barely hear it after like the first minute, whatever.
I get that all the time. I'll put a little music behind an interview, and I do it more for protection of my own content. Like if there's a little music behind an interview, then somebody can't come in and steal that interview and put it in their documentary because there's that music track laid in there,
Sure.
And I've done it on a couple of interviews. All of a sudden people are like, why'd you take the music out? Take the music out. And I'm like, go get your own interview.
Exactly. That's what I was telling my husband last night. Like, go get your own channel so I can go troll you and tell you how bad you suck at this. Like, that's what I want to do. And then I had someone try to break into, I told you yesterday, I had someone try to break into both of my emails that are associated with True Crime Truth Finders. It was at 6:39 a.m. I think people seem to forget that I'm not an idiot and that even if you think I sound like an idiot and you don't like me, my prior history and experience is being a licensed private investigator. That does make me smarter than the average bear. And these people think that they can jack my accounts. Like, they're so stupid. Whatever. Get out of here.
Google's working my security. So if you're trying to hijack my Google account, you're trying to hack Google.
Yeah, right.
So it's like, I get a notification. A lot of times it's someone else, like it's somebody that I've given access to, and they're like, "Hey, Michael, send me that 4-letter code or whatever that Google's sending out." So
yeah, I got the email at the exact same time I have so many Gmails, and it was those two accounts, just those two, at the exact same time, and it said they were using a VPN. It said they were from Ukraine. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? You're an idiot, and it's asking me to verify this. People are dumb.
So what else? What else you got?
Well, that was my big thing. I knew that you would be the person to talk about for any of the latest and greatest in the whole KK thing. And did we confirm if those random teeth were they were adult molars, right? And do we know where they came from?
Well, no, they were adult molars, and that's all they got. I think, unless Jenny's probably the closest, or my wife. She's not sitting here anymore, but they were actually in the courtroom when they talked about these teeth. I think the confusion has been there was 5 teeth. 4 of them were found together in an envelope, and 1 was found separately. They don't really talk about where the other one was found separately. It just says it was found separately.
They never mentioned it in court. It came out in the warrants.
Okay, so that was in the warrants. And if it wasn't mentioned in court, then it was in the warrants. And so the information is pretty clear. But I think what they say, they collected, was it 65 pieces or was it 35 pieces of evidence? There's a number that they put, like they got 65 exhibits or something, you know?
Yeah, it was a big one. I was looking at those. I have them somewhere on my channel. And I know that they listed teeth. And then they listed the specifics a few lines under, like some were in an envelope, and then like 1 was by itself. And then I know that one of the things that they took into evidence to test was a mouth guard. So I was almost wondering if maybe some of those teeth were dentures and they were referred to as a mouth guard later because it's similar and they're just kind of like grouping things together. But I don't know. A lot of people were questioning the teeth, and believe it or not, when I mentioned it, I asked people because we hadn't gotten to the point where it was adult molars yet. And I asked, I'm like, okay, well, Kaylee wasn't old enough to lose teeth. I have a kid who's not old enough, but there would be no judgment if my mom, and I found out after the fact, my mom didn't keep my teeth. So I was trying to figure out where they came from. I also got trolls about that. They're like, well, you don't sound like you're a good mother because you wouldn't keep teeth. You're not sentimental. Seriously?
I think I said there's only 2 types of people in the world that keep teeth and hair, and that's parents and serial killers. So
yes, right. That's one of those. They have shows about it now, that the weird things that people do when they kill people, like the things that I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's like their little treasures, their little sentimental things that they keep from the killings. That creeps me out. There's the mark of a killer. It's a show. They either do something like, it's kind of like the smiley face killer, or they'll, give somebody a branding when they kill them or something, or they take some kind of evidence from each scene it's like their mark. That is so freaking creepy. Like, that's what I was thinking when I'm thinking teeth. Like, it creeps me out.
Yeah, it wouldn't be very original if it was like, if Patrick's like, oh yeah, let's keep a tooth for every person we kill. Right. I guess that's, it's not super original, but again, the craziest thing for me is how, if it happened at Kelsey's house, like their story is telling, if it happened there, and they have pictures of him. Look, the cameras are really close to Kelsey's door. I mean, they're literally across maybe 10 feet, maybe 15 feet away, just because the houses are so. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to give it. I'm trying to be conservative. People get mad at me when I say numbers. They're like, "Oh no." I'm like, it's close.
I mean, you're talking, basically 2 walkways and a retaining wall.
Yeah, so I mean, you're talking about 2 4-foot sidewalks, a retaining wall. So I mean, you're looking 8, 10, maybe 15 feet with a little bit of space. I could sit underneath the cameras and spit and probably hit Kelsey's door, 5 out of 10 times. That's how close it is. It's super close. I heard a lot of sleuthers going after, well, maybe the cameras didn't catch the tote because of the retaining wall. Maybe they didn't catch him bringing out the body and different things. My biggest confusion is with everything so close together, unless they have like a phone ping. And the phone pings confuse me because these people were smart enough to have burner phones and multiple burner phones, yet all of a sudden now we have a concentrated understanding of the phone pings and we can track their movements and they were together and all this stuff. And I'm like, but yet they're going to tell a story that they gave you phone pings. Like KK tells a story that I purposely turned on my phones in Grand Junction, that I purposely had them together in Salt Lake so that you guys would see it. Well, if she's telling the story that she purposely understood what was going to happen with the phone pings, why would we believe that Patrick's over here got two phones together texting each other as if that wasn't part of the plan, you know? And so you can't have a plan that says, oh yeah, turn on the phone pings, leave a little extra blood, and then us not believe that the phone pings are even legit from the start. And so the defense is going to pull all that apart. Like, and Slater was very clear that KK's testimony is not linear. In other words, she didn't give it in a linear time frame, like a timeline. She didn't give it that way. They collected it over in 72 hours of interviews that they asked questions, and then they would, okay, let's go back to this over here on November 22nd, or let's go back to the 24th, or let's go. So they skipped around, and then they laid it out in their own timeline. But and he also said not linear, and I think the word was not logical. Like, it didn't make sense.
She knows too much. Like, why would Patrick tell her some of these things that happened to her? Or did he give her, like, a legit play-by-play, like, this is an NFL game? That's what I felt like. He either had to have done that, or she's totally full of shit, or she was there. I think she was there and either watched it or was a part of it, but that's another story. But she just knew too much.
What if the plan all along was, so on December 12th, I think it's December 12th, is the handwritten note that we're looking at. I think that's a December 12th note. So that's 9 days before Patrick's arrested. He writes a note to give permission to these people for Kaylee. And people have been, dissecting that note. And why would he give these people permission? Why was he doing this? And hear me out. I know this is crazy. But what if the plan all along was for Patrick to take the fall for a little bit? He knew he was going to go to jail. He knew he was going to be the prime suspect. And let's say if, okay, we take care of Kelsey. Okay, so let's get together. We're going to do these. We're going to throw them all off with the phone pings and the text. But it's going to be hard to throw them off for too long. So one of us is going to have to take the fall. So if it looks like we're about to go down, KK, come out and you tell the story like we've talked about it. You tell the exact story that we've talked about. You tell them every little detail. You tell them about the tooth in the vent. You tell them about the tote outside. And all this stuff, because again, the story she tells is confusing to the point where it's like, would a guy kill his fiance, somehow dismember her and put her into a tote, tell this whole elaborate story, and then when he gets outside, he's like, oh yeah, I couldn't put the tote in the back of my truck, so I had to set it down right here and open my truck, and then I picked up the tote from right here and put it in there. Because that's kind of the story they tell. They say, oh yeah, KK says he set the tote down right here. Well, either he told you a very, very, very detailed story, which doesn't make a ton of sense. It's not even details you would even kind of tell.
Right.
And then the dog hit there. I think what happened there was the dog hit on something outside. I'm not denying the dog probably hit on something outside. And then the cops were probably like, okay, so what happened outside? And then KK's like, what are you talking about? What do you mean what happened outside? Well, how did he move? How did he move the body? Well, he took it and he put it in the tote and he took it out and put it in his truck. Well, no, we know something happened right here because the dog hit right here. So tell us what happened. You got to think how these cops work, people, and they go back and forth. Are you sure? Maybe he set the tote down. Did he set the tote down? Oh, yeah. He set the tote down because he had to set it down before he put it in the truck. So the way they got to that answer from her could have come about with like a little manipulation or a little, questioning back and forth, because they're trying to tell this. They're trying to tell the story with the physical evidence, and the physical evidence says the dog hit right here. So why did the dog hit here? And so there's all these little questions it's the same with the Chris Watts story. Whose story came out first? Chris Watts he said, well, I just went with the story they were telling me,
Right.
like they told me this is how it happened. So I just jumped on board with it, And so I feel like we have some of that's gone on. I'm confused on a lot of the statements that were made. Like, okay, we took the toad out to the ranch and he put the toad up on the hay bale. And he used the tractor, and then the cops come back and they corroborate her story with, okay, there was discoloration on where the tote was sitting on the hay bale. Well, listen, I love that. I love the idea that, oh yeah, the tote sat there for a couple of days and the sun bleached the hay. That's just not the case here. The tote was there for a day. There probably wouldn't be discoloration. There probably wouldn't be any disturbed hay on where he set the tote if it just sat there for a day. It wasn't like it was sitting there for weeks or it wasn't sitting there for months, And so they come up with all these little physical things that they can say. Yes, it was physically sitting here because of the discoloration of the hay, and there's the tractor he used, so that's physically here. So she's telling she's telling the true story, and so. I hope and pray that they find a piece of bone or they find something that they can DNA test to prove it's Kelsey so that they have some sort of saying, yep, we have a body, we found it here at the dump. Do I believe that's going to happen in the next few days? Probably not. And I'm just talking now, so.
They need something definite. I don't feel like they're going to get a conviction out of Patrick Frazee if they don't have something concrete. Just like you said, they have to find something. Do you have any idea on a status update or anything on their search of the landfill? That looks like a rabbit hole as well, and it's like a needle in a haystack.
Well, it's like a needle in a needle stack. Not even a needle, like a needle in a haystack. At least you're looking for something different. Right now, they don't even know what they're looking for. They're just looking, and the reason they're looking is because they have to. Because if he's let off, if he gets off and is found not guilty, they cannot have people say, well, it's because you didn't look for the body. They can't come, but you don't want the family to go, why didn't y'all go down to the dump and look? They told you it was at the dump or the river. Well, the river is not going to happen because the river is the river. But we do have cameras down at the dump. We do have a system in which they dump stuff. There is people who are professionals at searching dumps and stuff. So let's go look at the dump, at least for the family's sake and for the closure's sake. We got to exhaust all our means, And so I think the dump is more for show. And I actually have a piece of physical evidence to kind of prove that. They wrote a press release that sounded more like a photo shoot opportunity than it was a press release, we're going to search the dump, Hey, bring your cameras down here, get all your video of us searching the dump. They're releasing photos of the Salvation Army donating food, and they're releasing. The reason they're doing this is because they can show these photos. They can show this video in court when they start to tell the story that KK said he might have taken the body to the dump. Steve, we're down here searching the dump. We take that so valid that we're expending these resources to search the dump. So part of what they're doing is building a visual show for the timeline in which they want to share. And so it'll be compelling to the jury, if KK gets up there and says, yep, Patrick said he dumped her at the dump. And then they say, oh, yep, we would like to show Exhibit E. Here's a video of them searching the dump. Well, they're still exhausting all measures. And so part of what they're doing now is not only looking for physical evidence, but they're collecting enough circumstantial evidence, because that's the other thing my father said was the only way you're going to get a conviction without a physical body is you're going to have a lot of physical evidence, but you're going to have an overwhelming what you're going to have is an overwhelming number of circumstantial evidence to also back up maybe that little physical evidence, because you don't have that body. You don't have the physical body. And so they're going to get whatever they can. They're going to take whatever that they can say as fact. Cell phone pings. She told so-and-so, she's telling the truth because she told so-and-so about this in September. So it's not going to make people happy.
No.
When he gets convicted of like solicitation.
Yeah.
And gets 3 or 4 years or 10 years or something. I don't know what. If he only gets, because they charged him with like 8 charges or something, and a lot of the charges don't have to have a body. Right? They may have enough physical evidence and enough circumstantial evidence to convict him of solicitation. They may have enough physical and circumstantial evidence to convict him of the crime. What was it? The heinous crime, or they threw on some extra charge at the end there, whatever the 8th charge is, but it wasn't a murder charge. It was like some kind of heinous criminal act or something. And so they may get him on that. I have a feeling we're going to get a count 1 of murder in the first degree, not guilty. Count 2, solicitation, guilty. Count 3, and then the judge can make the decision at that point, and the state can make a decision in recommendation. Okay, well, we're going to give him 10 years for each solicitation charge. That's 30 years. Then we're going to give him 10 years for, the heinous crime, or the whatever the crime is that they said. And so that's why I think they stacked those charges, because they realized we might not be able to have enough physical evidence to get that murder charge.
Yeah, that's my concern too, that maybe that he's going to get off a little less, or that there might be a hung jury or something, because I doubt that there's going to be any way. There's no way they're going to get everybody to say that, at least from what I've seen, there's no way they're going to get everybody to say that he's guilty on a murder charge. But I almost wonder, when you're saying those solicitation charges too, and reading everything and just how in-depth KK is, I almost wonder if it's like a manipulation thing, where maybe KK was trying to force Patrick into doing something, and it wasn't really Patrick trying to force KK. That almost runs through my mind. But then I get confused, because there's those other people that have the suspicious deaths, and I was looking into the father of Patrick that you mentioned yesterday, and I was using my resources that I have, and I cannot find a death date at this point.
Nope. I can't either.
And it looks like he might be about 18 to 20 years older than Sheila. I don't know. I get super confused on what's going on.
The dad's a mystery.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is. I know 100% that he's dead, because there was a probate court scheduled. So that was probate of his estate. And they were gonna, there was a court date scheduled for that. And that was in September. The court date was in September. I've heard that, he was a suspicious death. But again, I can't find an obituary. I can't find anything. He could show up in court for all I know. He might show up one day and we're all like, holy shit, we thought he was dead. And that is the mystery of it. Why can't we find anything about his dad? Is he living? And I've had people that have sources, like law enforcement sources, search it, and they can't find an obituary or a cause of death. But then there's the rumor of suspicious death. Nobody's posted an official anything about the father. Is that suspicious? Yeah, it's suspicious. If he died in September or August, or right in that general area of time, and then all of a sudden, yes. And I think if it has to do with the father, it's because I do know that the father has some property. I do think the father was, maybe had some land or money and insurance money and different things and I think that proportionately part of his will had something to do with Kaylee. Like he maybe was leaving something to Kaylee.
Ooh.
And at that point, now motive turns to, oh, okay, dad's dead, but he left, a big property to Kaylee. Well, then if mom's in the way, if Kelsey's in the way of that, that could be a motive. And then that brings in Omar Frog. Omar real quick. She becomes a prime suspect because you got to believe he's tied into the property out there too. So the dad, the fact that the brother was specifically mentioned, it was specifically said, oh, they have a strange relationship, but yet they were together on the day the murder happened. They were together on the 4th, on December 4th, when they collected the cell phone from Patrick and they verified that Kaylee was still alive. See, up until December 4th, no one had laid eyes on Kaylee officially. We had seen Clayton Sandell, the ABC reporter, catch him and the baby outside of the law offices, but that wasn't an official welfare check on the baby. And so that December 4th, where they met up at the Smash Burger with Sean Frazee and Patrick, that was a welfare check as well as to get a cell phone from Patrick. And so and on the 14th, they're searching on December 10th, they tell us they're still treating this as a missing persons, but we are 100% sure on the 14th that the cops were there, CBI was there, and they were pulling stuff, like you said, the physical evidence out of the condo. At that point, I believe they knew it was a homicide the day out there on the 20th for sure, but I think they knew it was a homicide the very first press conference on the 2nd, because they had already found the blood at the house. Not the 2nd. The 2nd is when the missing persons report came in. The 10th was the first press conference. CBI had searched the house on the 6th, I think is the timeline, when they found that blood. So
from when her mom and brother were staying there and cleaning up and everything?
Yeah, so mom was in town and made the plea on the 10th at the press conference for her daughter. And people really gave mom a hard time because she was cold and she was straight-faced and she didn't show a lot of emotion. But it was because I believe that press conference was set up to set up Patrick, and he didn't bite, right? Like, they wanted Patrick at the press conference. They wanted him to make a statement. They wanted him to pull a Chris Watts and get up there and say, if there's anybody, they wanted to have him on tape pleading for Kelsey so that then they would have that come when they arrest him, and he didn't bite on that. And he didn't, and mom gave a real strong talk, but people criticized her because she wasn't emotional, or she wasn't emotional enough, or whatever. And then the whole story came out that they were staying at the house, and there is all that, which the defense is gonna try to rip that up and say, oh, it could have been contaminated evidence. Oh, anytime that someone else is involved, and that was something I talked with my father about, the collection of evidence and how that's collected. Now it sounds like what they're telling us is that the family found the evidence, but they didn't collect it. They called the cops. The cops came back and did all the evidence collecting, which shouldn't be a problem with the chain of evidence. But, that's the fact that they didn't find anything the first time tells us one of two things. One, there wasn't a ton of physical evidence to find. Like, it wasn't obvious physical blood and evidence. It wasn't like the whole ceiling was speckled with blood. There was a couple of drops, it wasn't obvious to the officer who walked through, even though he might not have been looking for an actual murder or was just looking for a welfare check. Their eyes are still open, and if there had been something obvious, he would have caught that obvious physical blood. But a few, like a bath mat missing, that's not going to be enough physical evidence to say, oh, there was a murder because the bath mat missing.
Right.
And so, but that's kind of not what they're saying, but that's what they're saying they have as evidence. They're saying that's what caused mom to call the cops back. Hey, I know there was a bath mat we gave her, and then we started looking and we found some blood on the toilet. Well, if there's going to be blood in a house, the blood's going to be in the bathroom. If there's blood spatter on the roof, that's suspicious, but it's not that somebody was beat to death with a baseball bat. And so there's a lot of stories that are involved in this thing. KK's story is kind of sensational when you talk about it. Like, it's kind of a drama. It would make for a great Lifetime drama of this guy who goes and gets the candles and, you know, has this serenaded romantic time with this girl, and then she's sniffing the candles and he beats her with a baseball bat. That's drama at its best. That's mystery movie at its best. You know, so
absolutely. They contaminated that crime scene too, though. That doesn't look good for them either. For them to have not found anything, and then for her brother and her mother to go in there. It's not their fault, but they were allowed to go in there, and not saying they planted anything, because that's not how that would work. You can't take luminol into a bathroom and plant any of that crap. So the fact that they did detect something, there was some kind of evidence at some point, but that crime scene was contaminated, and that's definitely something that can be brought up in defense as well, is that there was so many days that it wasn't, I want to say quarantined, but that's not the word. It wasn't roped off. You were allowed to be in there, and they were allowed to be in there. And it's a good thing because they triggered the luminol testing. They triggered, the investigators to come back. And that, like you said, that's when they started to find that evidence. But the defense they're going to have a field day with the fact that crime scene was contaminated, and that really sucks.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem that's the stuff that everybody's looking at and pointing fingers at the Woodland Park PD, like, you guys were incompetent. It wasn't necessarily, I say they're corrupt all the time, but the fact that they maybe were incompetent in their search, or they didn't see something, especially if it was noticeable. Like, if mom and brother saw some blood, but yet you missed it,
right?
That's where, like, there is questions there. As far as a contaminated site, I don't know, because the chain of evidence, as when I was, again, speaking with law enforcement, as long as the parents didn't say, oh, we found this bloody shirt and we took it to the cops, or we found this bloody mat and we took it to the cops.
Right.
As long as the cops can get up, or the parents and the brother can get up and say, we found this, and we immediately called law enforcement, and law enforcement came, and then they did a whole new collection. That's going to look okay. It doesn't mean the defense isn't going to try to rip it apart by saying, how many people were in there? Was there anyone else? Are you sure there was no one else? Because if mom and brother could go in there, what if someone else came back and planted something? Because it wasn't roped off, because it wasn't sealed, because it wasn't a sealed crime scene. And Absolutely. So there is going to be the argument, well, we're not blaming mom and brother, but if mom and brother were there, who else had been there? Is there and all they have to do is ask the question to the cops. Is there a possibility someone else was in the apartment? The cops have to truthfully answer that with, yeah, there is a possibility, because we didn't have it blocked off as a crime scene. And at that point, that's reasonable doubt. And that's reasonable doubt in the sense of somebody could have messed with the evidence, or contaminated the evidence, or whatever, covered up more evidence. And so, yeah, it's a mess no matter how you look at it. They searched Omar Fraze's place. They searched it. They cleared them off. They searched it. Then they left. Then they came back again. And
yeah.
So that's another thing. They went out there and did a search of the property. They then released it back to the family. And then a few days later, they show back up and arrest everyone. And so, they did a search on his property, I think, starting on the, on the 21st, they arrested him. But I think they did a search back there on the 14th or 15th. And then they entered, that's the other big kicker is, with KK's testimony, people haven't talked about this a ton, but she did not. Well, I think Dateline actually mentioned it. She didn't say a word about Patrick until her deal was signed, sealed, and delivered. And that was the deal that she got was, we are not going to charge you with anything more than a class 6 felony. Listen, you're not even going to get arrested. We're going to write you a ticket, a summons to come to court. That's the deal we're giving you, signed, sealed, delivered. Now tell us what Patrick did. So she had a signed, sealed deal before she ever told a single story. And that's because she has a good lawyer. They came up, tried to talk to her up in Idaho. She talked to him for a little bit, but then she lawyered up. And then she didn't give them the full testimony until the 20th. And then they arrested Patrick on the 21st. That's December. December. So almost a month later, And so that's going to look weird and suspicious to a jury. The jury's going to be like, well, what are you talking about? You mean you didn't give her the deal? If we know that, the defense knows that. If the defense knows that, they're going to bring that up in court,
For sure.
They're going to say, this girl gave the deal after, or she gave this story after she was given immunity, basically, or a smoking deal for accessory to murder. And if she swung the bat, if they can point her at swinging the bat, she can sit up there and tell her story over and over, just like she told it. And she has law enforcement to back her up. Like, law enforcement's got to say, yep, she's telling the truth. That's the same story she told us, They're trying to pin the murder on Patrick. Now, is it rightfully being pinned on Patrick? I think so. I think it's been proven he's lied. But is he the only one? Was he at the Walmart when KK was at the house? Was he taking the baby around? She says the story that the baby's in the back room, but did Patrick we have video of him going to the bank. We have video of him going to the Walmart and different things. I think that's what I think that's where the rumor comes about the third woman, is because he makes a phone call from the Walmart, and they said it was after he realized he was on tape or something like that. But oh gosh, why did this have to happen in Woodland?
Right? It seems I don't know, after listening to all of your stuff, and so my husband's not totally into true crime. I try to bring him into it, and he's been listening to your stuff, and he's like, wow, I want to go to Colorado, but remind me not to go there. Like, there's something going on over there.
Y'all need to pack up and come to Colorado Crime Con.
I know. If we can get someone to watch the little one, then we definitely want to, for sure. We had a good comment.
I think old mom.
Old
mom might be available for babysitting. I've been waiting to use that joke. That worked out perfect.
That is awesome.
Yes, you just had it.
Mom's gonna be the babysitter at Crime Con. She's got this ranch right down the road, and she's gonna have the children there.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
There's gonna be a sign in her front yard.
Romad said earlier that you need to dress up as Texas Red for a Crime Con.
Oh gosh, I can't believe I should have never done a phone call in show.
Texas Red and his dating show. The 1% needs their dating capabilities there, Texas Red.
Can you work on a dating app for me? Let's call it, it has to be something with the crime. We have to do like the crime con, no, the con dating app. So farmers.com. Oh, let's see. I don't know. We'll have to come up with the dating app.
It's like Texas Red's Crime Con dating or something.
I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Someone had a really good comment and question prior that I wanted to ask you, and I can't find it.
I'll start looking.
I'm looking back. Someone had a really good question, and I also, you know what, well, we're on the Kelsey Berreth rabbit hole here. I heard that it was Clint and the mother were there to clean up Kelsey's apartment, and I think that could be used to construe something as well, where, well, what do you know, they cleaned up, or, I don't know,
Didn't they find an unknown male DNA in the bathroom?
Yes.
Well,
somewhere. I don't know if it was the bathroom. Somewhere.
Which is weird to me because they haven't tested anything.
Yeah, something's not right.
So when they say they found another DNA source, like, we know that they haven't tested anything, because anything they have to test, the defense has to be present for. And they've been fighting over how the defense is going to be. They haven't ruled on that consumptive testing. The only testing they've talked about. So I don't understand how they could say they found another third male DNA. Part of me, that feels like, well, how do you know it's another third-party DNA if you haven't tested? Maybe they have tested and they haven't talked about it in court, but I don't see how that's possible, because it's not like they're calling the defense up and going, hey, we're going to test this, and the defense is going, oh yeah, it's good with us, cool. No, the defense is filing motions every time they want to do something because they want to go into court and fight them to do it. And so I am confused by how they say they have this unknown third. I don't know how that's possible, but they're saying it. Like, I have heard that there is a third-party DNA, or there's some, male DNA.
Slater said it in court.
That's
Slater
why
said that they had obtained DNA from Cheryl and Clint and her brother, and then they found an unknown third-party DNA in the condo.
Yeah, so that means they ran some tests.
Yeah.
You can't just find DNA. Is not like, oh well, there's somebody's DNA. I have no idea how they got that. Like, or I have no, if all they're saying is they collected some DNA from the parents, that's one thing. Like, I know that they probably did. They did a swab on. They have Patrick's DNA as soon as he went into Teller County. If you're charged with a felony, they take your DNA in the state of Colorado. You don't have a choice. It's a mandatory. You have to give up your DNA when you go into the jail. And so, if you're charged with a felony, you have to be. And that, I would be interested to know if they collected KK's DNA, because she was charged with a felony. And according to, maybe it's a 6, maybe you have to be charged with a 3 felony or above. I think it's a 3.
I was charged with a 6, and they collected my DNA.
Okay, so any felony charge in Colorado, they're going to collect your DNA. But I'm pretty sure they might not have collected KK's DNA because she never got booked in. She did what they call a walkthrough, and she didn't even get booked in. She didn't even have to change her clothes. I don't know if they collected her DNA. I'm trying to think of Colorado Springs.
Jay for Justice said that they found Texas Red's DNA.
Is Jay for Justice in here? She needs to go back to bed.
She's been in here.
She's
having fun trolling you right now. No, I'm just kidding.
Freaking trolls.
Yes, Bernie, we have Jenny in here.
I should have just denied it. When that lady called in yesterday and was like, did you used to be a rodeo clown? I should have been like, no, I don't know. Who's telling you that? Jennifer Lawrence?
You were totally on it, too. You're like, yeah, back 10 years ago.
And then I sent Jay some pictures yesterday because it was 2 a.m. in the morning or something. 12 a.m. in the morning, I sent her some pictures while she was talking. I was like, oh, yeah, here's some pictures from my Facebook of my clowning days.
Oh, Jay's got blackmail now. You need to keep those in a safe spot, Jay.
No blackmail. Trust me, I got the text messages. Why are blackmailing YouTubers? What kind of,
you've got your receipts.
Got no money. YouTubers ain't got no money right now. We're all.
I don't know why people are obsessed with trolling us. We ain't got shit.
Well, it's funny to me because it's the other YouTubers. Like, I was reading messages. Because I'm working on a timeline, so I was going back reading all my messages, and it's funny because I have one YouTuber who comes out on all these pages saying, y'all need to go investigate Michael. He lives down the street and he's obsessed with this case. Well, my obsession with this case is completely documented. Like,
right.
I have the message from Sarah, who is here in Woodland Park, and Sarah's a resident that lives 8 houses down from Kelsey. And I have the message when she sent it to me. She was like, Michael, have you looked into this missing girls case? And I was like, I messaged her back. I was like, I don't know much about it. Where she go missing? From your block down the street? And I was like, oh crap. So that's how I even got involved in this case. And that wasn't even until December 6th. So December 6th is the first time I even started talking about it. But I love how I stayed off of YouTube. I had really nothing. I mean, I have a bunch of YouTubes. You said you have a bunch of Gmails. I bet I have more. And we can compare our Gmail list later.
Yeah.
But it is, I made the statement that started a big, I put a target on my back on purpose. I needed a target on my back so I could get Dateline's attention. And so I put a target on my back by saying, you know, when there's blood on the street, start a social media page. Yeah. And you'll freaking, your social media group will grow. I mean, there were groups that were growing. It's the truth.
Your haters grew your page. Like, that's how I found out about you, was your trolls and your haters. And I was like,
Absolutely.
I'm going to him, not you.
And people flipped out. Regular listeners, they're like, they're saying such vile things about you. And I was like, sweet, send me a screenshot, you know? And that's what I didn't understand. I was like, if people think that you can scream people's names in pages with 30,000 people or 10,000 people or 6,000 people, and you're not helping them, go look at everyone. Go look at KOAA's trolls. Those some bitches got some trolls. Go look at Andrea Canning. Andrea Canning's getting trolled by ABC. Like, she makes a tweet and ABC's trolling her. So everybody's got trolls, and people freak out about it. The only reason people freak out about trolls is when the trolls are speaking truth. And that's the difference. Like, I can talk about these content wannabes out there, these content creator wannabes, that all they can do is create content about other content creators. That's not content. That's counterfeit. You're just counterfeiting people. And so that's why they get scared. That's why they get upset. They think they're in a genre that they own. And I mean, even some of the nice ones out there, some of the nicer YouTubers have said comments to me. They're like, oh, this guy just showed up out of nowhere because of Kelsey. Well, I might have just showed up out of nowhere, but I ain't going anywhere.
So, right. I'm here now.
Well, and the funny thing is that my point was totally proven. I could disappear today, like not disappear physically, but I could just step out of the crime game. I could step out of the sleuthing. I could step out of the true crime. And the only story that's going to be told 100 years from now is my story, because my story is no longer just on YouTube. My story is no longer on Facebook. And so people, oh, well, you know, they're pissed because he made it on Dateline. I said, well, they're going to be pissed because I'm talking to the BBC, Netflix, ID, Discovery, and all I did was step into it. Andrea Canny said it perfect on Dateline. Michael became a sleuther overnight. Yep, that's absolutely the truth. I wasn't chasing crime before Kelsey. I was chasing deer. I was watching the parades around town. And so did I find a new passion? Absolutely. Am I going anywhere? Hold on. We're just getting started.
Absolutely. So, amen to that.
And it's a young game. I don't understand why they're so mad. This is such a young thing. In 10 years from now, we'll be solving crimes on social media long before the cops even know there was a crime committed.
Absolutely.
I believe that with all my heart. I believe that something has shifted in the world, that all of a sudden the first responder is going to be given back to the people. It's going to be given back to the neighbor, and the neighbor's going to know what's going on long before the cops even show up at the door. And it's just the world we live in, and there's no reason to be upset about it. There's no reason to get freaked out about it. The world's changing, and it's changing for the good and the bad. I know right now that they have subpoenaed my social media records. Like, I'm 100% sure that they're running warrants with Facebook to pull my social media records right now as we're doing this. I have that in paperwork. And so they're going to start doing that with all kinds of people if someone comes up with something right, you know. Dateline gave me credit for talking about Sonic first. The truth is that's not the truth. the Sonic came out on Facebook from a Sonic employee. I have the screenshot of the lady from Sonic who said they came by my restaurant. Now, she didn't say Sonic. She never mentioned her restaurant. They said they came by my restaurant. Well, it's not hard to find out what restaurant she was working at. And so as soon as I found out it was the Sonic, I made phone calls to other Sonic employees. But I didn't break the news that they came by the Sonic. That was the Sonic employee who broke that. And so Dateline tried to give me credit for it, and they took some things I said out of context. They weren't taken out of context bad. It definitely tells a good story. But it's fun to watch, and I've said it 100 times, and people can judge me or they can check the stats. I use traditional media, whether it be the daytime media, whether it be Dateline, whether it be CNN, whether it be whatever. I use traditional media like puppets. They're competitors with me, but they do have a different audience. And so I'm going to try to use them. I'm going to try to drag them in. I'm going to tell them things. Man, I was messaging reporters in New York yesterday about stuff. And I use them and I try to play them like puppets. Sometimes they play me like a puppet. and so over the years, I've learned. And so it's happened right here in Woodland Park. I mean, I made national news for running a stop sign on a social media video. I did. And I told the cops it was going to be national news. I told the cops showed up at my door, gave me a ticket for running a stop sign and videoing it. This was 3 years or 5 years ago. And I emailed Chief Miles DeYoung, the same chief that's there today, and I said, you guys showed up at my door and gave me a ticket for social. They gave me like 5 tickets. And I said, I'm going to make this national news tomorrow. And he said, I doubt it. That's the email I got back. I doubt it. Well, the very next day, there were 7 news organizations on his front step, and it was because we played puppetry. I puppeted them over there, and then all of a sudden, it was national news. I wish I could say I puppeted Dateline. They called me out of the blue because I checked a bunch of boxes on their list. He lives there. He's involved in social media. He's following this crime. So they're checking off things on their list. And so we have to play those guys.
Number one is he has trolls.
Yeah, trolls. Oh, well, and that's the funny thing is she mentioned those haters and those rubberneckers, and she talks about it in their story. And like there's some good ones out there. The one guy who's been he kind of did an apology video actually. I think he won't apologize anymore. But I love it. You gotta have a troll or two. You need 10. If you got 10,000 trolls, that means you probably have 1 million followers.
Right.
If you have 100 trolls, that means you probably have 10,000 followers. If you have 10 trolls, that means you probably have 100 followers. I always look at my YouTube videos, and if I have 10 likes, I better have over 100. Or if I have 100 likes, I better have at least 10 dislikes or 10 thumbs down. And if I have 1,000 views, and 200 or 500 likes, I better have 50 dislikes or something is disproportionate. And so, yeah, I love the troll. We should do a troll. We're going to have a troll con.
I was just about to say we need to do a trollathon.
Oh, a trollathon. And the content creators or the content counterfeiters that are out there that are really just trolls, but they're counterfeiting all this content. People get tired of it. Like, I know they get tired of it when people are doing parody shows about other YouTubers. Am I getting tired of somebody doing a parody show about me? No, I need more parody shows. Y'all do more. I need a Texas Red parody show, Jerry. So can you keep talking about, I don't know if she's still watching.
I'm officially dead over here.
Well, you have to.
Seriously, no, because I want to know, I need stats. I need to know for every parody video or for every hater or every troll, how many people come in and sub and watch your live, because I bet you for every one troll and one hater, you get 10 or more people that come in because they're making a big stink about you and people want to know, okay, well, why does she or he hate on Dad with the phone? I need to see what the big deal is. And you're a big deal, but there is no big deal to hate on you. You're just a dad with a phone. Like, what?
No, and people, and I understand it's easy. Well, it's easy subject too. let's say that I was doing this on something else. Let's say we weren't talking about murder. If we were talking about, I don't know, football. Let's say you all, like, you know, there's guys that do, or football is probably not so good, but there are guys that do commentary for, they have YouTube channels based around doing play-by-play for like paid-per-view events, like where people can't pay $100 to watch a UFC. People will do UFC videos where they're just talking and they're like doing their own commentary, and people come in and watch that. Let's say that that's what I was doing. Like, instead of sleuthing, I was commenting. All of a sudden, I just showed up and started commentating on UFC events, and I had a YouTube channel. Nobody gets upset about that. And nobody gets upset if those people ask for a little money. All of a sudden, I'm doing this sleuthing thing. I have no idea about sleuthers. I to be honest with you, I didn't know about Super Chat. I didn't know about people giving. I knew about AdSense, and I worked with a lot of YouTube channels that have made money from sponsors, big sponsors, get paid quarterly from sponsors. But I didn't know nothing about these live chats. Super Chat, make some money on YouTube by talking shit. If I'd have known that, I started talking shit a long time ago.
Right? I would have made a career in this years ago.
I wonder where Ella gets her gift of gab from.
Hey, Ella did her first podcast yesterday.
I know,
I'm so
I watched
proud
it.
of her. Yeah, she's going to kill it.
I need to check that out. I got the notification.
The trolls better be scared, because when people start trolling the kids, that's when those kids explode real quick.
That's what they did to Jay is for Justice, son. That's why I didn't even know who he was, but I subbed to him just because people were talking. Like, are you kidding me right now? I don't understand it.
Well, and the best thing, you know, people are always talking about subs and likes and this, that, and the other, and I'm like, that's free. Like, I'm not gonna give you power for something that you can do for free. So if you think that I care about your sub or your like, I don't. I really don't. I really don't care. I don't really care about who likes me. I'm married, have 3 kids, and live in the mountains of Colorado. I have a pretty good-ass life. I was a rodeo clown at one point, and now I live a pretty good-ass life.
Hey, so, don't forget, you taught high school, bro.
I did teach high school. I taught a high school class. So if you're talking bad about me, you're talking bad about teachers. And so go on that one for a little bit. But what I'm trying to get at is that to like and to sub to someone's channel is free. This is for you listeners. You can do something free that really helps YouTubers out. Like, it helps true crime truth finders, that if you like and sub to their channel, and it doesn't cost you a thing. Now, if you give to True Crime Truth Finders, do you have a Cash App or a PayPal?
Yeah.
So if you give to her PayPal or to her Cash App or to her Super Chat, there is going to be a return in your life. It might not be tomorrow. It might not be 10 years from now. But there is something about giving to people. And I'm not talking about just giving money. If you give time, if you give support, if you go in there and you troll bash a few trolls to get them pissed so they troll a little bit more, that's giving your time. You know, and so when all this stuff started coming out, I'm sitting in Cripple Creek and someone says, "Hey, Michael, can we send you some money to pay for gas?" And at first that was weird to me. And I was like, somebody wants to send me $20. Well, if somebody walked down the street and walked up to me and was like, "Here's $20, I'd be like, "Thanks, man. Thank you. Thank you for $20. Well, we live in a world now where people from all over the world can give you $20. And as soon as you invite money into a situation, people are going to be pissed. Especially YouTubers. Oh, that person is one of my followers, and they just gave $20 to Jay is for Justice. Oh, shit, we need to troll Jay. She's taking money out of my pocket.
That's ridiculous.
But that's what people do. People do that.
Ugh.
And I've seen that happen. I've seen the drama between YouTubers. Golly, I've been in people's podcasts like this. I'm not going to mention names. And I've been on their podcast, and they've been taking phone calls in, and then we'll go off the air because we were showing a video or something. All of a sudden, someone will call in, and they'll start ripping other YouTubers to this YouTuber. And I'm like, why are you watching? Why are you engaging with this person? Because that person gives them $20. or something stupid. So they're willing to give up their integrity as a content creator to bash on other content creators over $20, or worse, sometimes over a like and a sub.
That's ridiculous.
And that's where things get ridiculous. I hope we're not off subject, because you were talking about trolls. So.
Oh hey, no, I came on here furious because of a doctor's appointment I had yesterday and everything that transpired.
I gotcha.
I was ready to just spew at anything. So no, we're totally on topic here.
But so YouTube's a funny little platform. It's different than Facebook. So I like it. I like playing with them. And I told them I was coming. Like there's plenty of videos out there that I told the YouTubers. I was like, if I come over to YouTube, I'm coming over to take over. And I'm not coming over to take over with, I got 1 million subs. I could give a shit. But every house in America's talking about Dad with a Phone, and I showed up on YouTube 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago with Dad with a Phone. I had to start Dad with a Phone because they got my underground channel shut down. I wasn't even monetized. I wasn't trying to monetize the underground YouTube, and they got it shut down because I did a commentary video on some other YouTubers. And so I had talked to Jay early on when I was just the underground, and I had talked to some other people, and I did that interview with Andrea Canning, and I hadn't even started Dad with the Phone when I did that interview. But I had already started working on a new brand, and I was like, I'm going with this Dad with the Phone gig, and I'm going to start this YouTube up. I'm going to start a little brand line, and I had all the plans to do it, but I wasn't going to pull the trigger on it right away. And then all of a sudden my YouTube got shut down over at the underground. I was like, well, screw them then. I'll just start Dad with the Phone, and they're gonna be pissed now. And so I have been spending more time on YouTube, and my Facebook followers hate that, but they're still following me. They come over to YouTube too. So I
was gonna say, tell them to come over to YouTube.
Fun.
I get notifications when you're on YouTube, and I'm able to. I have the YouTube Premium crap, so I can do something else on my phone, or I can work on something else, or my son can play his game while I'm listening to you on YouTube. I hate that on Facebook. I can't do that. I can't multitask like that.
And I have noticed that that's a big thing with the YouTube, and I didn't realize that until yesterday. I had this caller call in, and we were talking about something, and then she was like, I'm a bartender, and when I get a notification that you're on YouTube, I throw my headphones in, and all my patrons start teasing me. Oh, are you listening to Dad with the Phone?
That's awesome.
And, no, I was laughing. I was like, oh shit. People are actually doing that. People are throwing their headsets, and then people all the time. I'm at work listening to you. Jenny does it all the time. She don't get anything done at work. All she does is listen to YouTube.
I actually get a lot accomplished when I'm listening to you.
I was gonna say that's good. What she's supposed to be working right now. I don't know.
I am actually working.
My wife was like, "Is Jenny in the bathroom listening to YouTube at work?"
She's hiding.
She's sitting in my office. In my office.
She said she had stomach cramps. She's in the bathroom listening to us on YouTube.
So how did you get into this myth, Miss True Crime Truth Finder?
Well, so I got my private investigation license almost 3 years ago, and I do not have it anymore. I gave that up. I became disabled right about the time I got my private investigation license. It's a really long story, but at 21, I had a surgery I didn't need on my back, and it basically caused me to have all kinds of issues. And so I wanted to do missing persons cases and unsolved cases and cold cases. And I've been contracted with a licensed private investigation company. They actually are headquartered in Colorado, which is kind of ironic. But previously, they were in Indianapolis, and so I've been working with them for about 5 years now, and I've learned a lot from them and all of that. And I wanted to, since I've become disabled, I feel like I had a lot of stuff that went on with relationships with my ex-husband who tried to kill me. I had my dad's dad abused me for years, and just a lot of things that I dealt with in my personal life that I wanted to help someone and when I became disabled and had my private investigation license, I wanted to figure out how I could continue to help people with my experience, but knowing that I wasn't going to be able to hang on to that license forever because I had become physically disabled. And so my husband and I came across the Chris Watts case, and you've heard his voice. People think that he has a voice for, they always say, you have a face for radio, and they joke with him, but they always say that you have a voice for radio. And he had people, we worked on the phone a lot, and he had people that would always say, hey, you've got this voice, you need to be on radio. And I was just telling Jenny a few hours ago, there was this little old lady who called in. She was like in her 60s or 70s, and she asked Grady, she's like, can you record this book for me and do it in your voice? And dude, we looked up the book, and it's like this sexual book. It was the most creepy thing ever. And so I've always wanted to kind of get him in. He wanted to go to radio school, and he makes too much money to go backwards in anything that he's done. So I wanted to try and open doors for him in a different way. So about a year or two ago, I got him a new mic. I got him a Podcasting for Dummies book. And we were in school. We had a lot going on. And this Chris Watts stuff came up. And I'm like, is there any way I can get you to do a podcast with me? Because one, I'm nervous. And two, maybe I can get you to open up and get us a following in some way so that you can branch out. He's really big into sports, and he knows the ins and outs of all of it. And I'm like, maybe we can do something to get you out there. And so that's how it kind of started. And I started putting us out on Anchor. It was when everything happened with Chris Watson. It was in December, and we recorded our first podcast. And I looked the other day, we haven't even had 1,000 views or listens on, we have like 5 or 6 episodes on there or whatever. And randomly one day I'm like, you know what, let's put us on YouTube. Let's see what happens. And I guess since the Chris Watts thing was popular, it kind of took off, and I kind of ran with it. And my husband, he says I'm leaving him out, and it's totally not my intention, but he's at work right now, and so he joins me sometimes. But I just wanted to find a way to help people, and that's where I ended up. And I don't care about what people say about me. There's not much that you could do to me that I haven't already been through, or that is worse than what I've been through, so screw you. And I just want to help people. So if I can help one person, the first time I ever got on a live, I had someone email me and say, how did you find your purpose on YouTube? Because I'm disabled and I'd like to find my purpose. And that meant everything to me, because I didn't think that my purpose was YouTube, but other people find that that's my purpose and that's where I'm supposed to be. So here I am, and just like you're not getting me to go anywhere, so get used to it.
No, I think that's an awesome, incredible story. It's funny because the same thing has kind of happened to me over just the last few weeks, where I'll get messages from people who are disabled, or, a lot of people, even some of the callers that called in yesterday. I got a message, a woman that said, I have this disease or MS. I'd really like to come to CrimeCon, but I can't. Will you take some extra video there? And that's really what caught my attention immediately and stuff. And listen, to be honest with you, it's funny. I've been on Dateline, right? Was on Dateline last Friday. I'm not the biggest YouTuber in Woodland Park. I have friends that have 200,000 subscribers that make money, and they're right here in Woodland Park. And so they're in a totally different genre. They're in a totally different, station place, but they're on YouTube and they're based right here. And I've had conversations with these people for years and years on how to increase their channels, how to blow their channels up. And I never came out from behind the camera until a few years ago, and that was just to kind of mess with Woodland Park, to do stuff around, to mess with some political things that are going on, to talk about that. But since coming over here to YouTube just in the last month, it's amazing the amount of people out there that are actually that this helps them through their day. They listen to it because they are disabled. They are at home. They're a stay-at-home mom. I must have 100 stay-at-home moms every day that talk to me or message me or stuff like that. So it's awesome. I encourage you and your husband. It's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I know that it's something that we're just trying to do. It's one of those things, like, I get totally... My mom talks us up, and, she tells people at her work and stuff, and she's like, oh, yeah, they've started this YouTube and podcast, and I get, like, all that, like, little kid butterfly feeling, like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. It makes me feel weird. What if they listen to me? But then I'm like, I get on here, and I'm like, this is who I am. So You either like me or you don't like me, and I'm not making a living off of any of this. I'm just simply trying to help people, and that's what I'm here for. And if I help one person, I know I've served my purpose. And just like you said, when you get those people, I used to watch TV all the time. I'd watch Hulu. I'm here, I'm at home. I have everything. I try to distract myself from pain and everything that I'm going through. And I just so happen, I can't believe I haven't come across this community prior to this, but a few months ago, it just opened my eyes that there are all of these people out there that whether they don't have cable, they can't afford it, they want the interaction, but they like these live chats. They're not where, most YouTubers get their views or their subs, but it is where they get their interaction, and you really get to learn who people are. Like, I didn't know these things about you, and I think that's super freaking cool. And that just made my whole day. So I hope we made somebody else's.
Oh, I'm sure of it. And that's really what it comes down to. I like how you say I don't care what people think. You say I don't care this. I don't cuss a lot, but I do feel like I wish I don't give a F money, but I just don't give a F.
Yeah.
I don't really care what people think, And that's a good place to be in your life, because when you're dead and gone, really it's your family, right? That's who you wanted to you want your friends to talk about you, and you want to be missed by other people. But if I tell people, if my wife says I was a good husband and my kids say I was a good dad, I'm done. Finish. My parents don't even have to say I'm a good son, but because and I didn't even tell my parents about all this. I didn't even tell my family about all this. And then come Friday night, my wife's getting text message. What the fud? Michael's on Dateline? What the heck? I mean, from all over the country, people from all over the country texting me and my wife going, why didn't y'all tell us? We're sitting here. I'm in the bathroom and I hear Michael Dalton's name come up, and I'm running out telling them rewind, pause, go back. And I laugh about it. And my mom, I'm talking to my mom the next day. She's like, why didn't you tell this, that, and the other? And she says, I'm listening to your podcast now. You got to quit using the potty mouth, Michael. You can't be having the potty mouth on the podcast. I can't listen to it. And I'm like, oh my God, my mom is listening. She cannot have this. And so it's funny. It's funny because now our parents and my dad now has been on the podcast. And that alone right there, I've interviewed people all over the world. I've filmed in more countries than I can count. I've been in jail in more countries than most people have visited. And had all kinds of interviews. I've interviewed presidents and kings and rich men and poor people. I've interviewed them all, living behind the camera. And to have my dad on the podcast and to interview my dad about what he's done for the last 50 years almost in law enforcement. 49 years my dad's been in law enforcement, and he retired a year ago. And I was like, to interview him, it was like, this is incredible. And now I'm hearing an echo and hearing myself. YouTube. Jenny, turn it off.
That was probably your most nerve-wracking interview, wasn't it?
I actually know, because I talked to my dad about crime and stuff since I was a kid. I can't wait to have him tell some stories. There's so many stories he'll tell. He's told me over the years that I'm like, tell me that story about the bar y'all busted one time, or tell me the story about that. And so I'm gonna get that out of him. But no, the interviews with my dad were good. And on top of the fact, when I called him to ask him, I had no clue that he had the training and experience in the cell phone shit. And I was like, this whole case is built on cell phones, Dad. You could be an expert witness on the stand. They pay big money for expert witnesses.
Yeah.
I had a whole nother thought. I was like, I'm sending your info to the DA, Dad. And no, this YouTube thing's fun. And for all you trolls that are listening, because I know you're out there listening right now, you can have permission to make fun of Dad. I like when you say my name. Say my name.
Heck yeah.
So.
Well, I do want to comment on one thing that you said. You said something that gave me the chills, because last night when I was watching, or yesterday afternoon when I was watching the Dr. Phil thing, I was telling Jenny earlier and everybody that, the one thing that got to me, it doesn't get to me a lot because of my background and because of the things that I've seen. And I've seen the autopsy photos and I've seen some really messed up stuff. But when they said that Shanann's family, and they said that she was an amazing mother, That's how I want to go out. Like if someone just says that I made an impact on somebody, or that I was like, my ultimate goal in life is to be a good mom. I want my son to look up to me. And if somebody says that she was a good mom, I feel like I've done my job. And I want to know that in other ways I've made an impact, but that's my most important thing, is my son. And obviously my husband, my immediate family, because they support me. My husband has literally supported me from hell and back. He met me before my back surgery, and that's what kind of spiraled everything. I've known him since 2010, and it's kind of spiraled out of control since then. But if someone can just say that I'm a good mom and a good wife, and that in addition to, like, that's the most important thing, but I sincerely hope that at some point someone can say, and someone could come up and say that she impacted me in this way, or I listened to her. And like, so when I was abused by my dad's dad, I didn't know it was wrong. And that sounds weird, but I really didn't know until I was faced with a situation where someone I knew was going to court for the very same thing. And if I could open somebody's eyes to know that they've been abused and they've done something about it, or they've stopped it, or I know that people say that, we're kind of beating this Chris Watts thing, a little too much. We need to lay off. But at the same time, I feel that if we can turn this story into someone recognizing the signs that this could have been stopped, and the same thing with Patrick Frazee, and Kelsey Berreth could still be here today if someone freaking said something. So if we could just change one thing, that's those are the things that I wanted to be known. If I guess that this has really had me like, what would my obituary say, and I do a lot of things with estates and unrecovered money and wills and stuff like that. That's what I'm contracted to do, and I do a lot of research, and some of these obituaries I see, they break my heart because there's nothing there. Like, there's nothing there, and I don't want a book, because I know that there's so much more out there that was more important. But I do want to know that, like, when I'm up there looking down, I want to know that I did something, because if I didn't, then why the French toast was I even here,
Well, and I think that's what drives you to do the YouTube. That's kind of what your book is on YouTube. Like, every day that you do a podcast, you leave something in history. And that's what I told people when I started the Woodland Park Underground on Facebook. Like, I chose Facebook. That was my network. You chose YouTube. This is your network. Now I got both these networks, and they're going to be fighting over me soon enough. And so you're leaving your book, you're leaving your history, because I can't write. Shit, I did teach high school, but I can barely read and write right now. I mean, I can read and I can write and whatever, but I do have some learning disabilities in that, and my public schooling is in and of itself is a good story. But I do know that 100 years from now, 100 years, when I'm gone, when my Ella is 105 or 100, whatever they say they're going to live past 100, when my Ella is 100 and she's got her grandchildren, she'll be showing her grandchildren, let me show you your great grandpa, he one time he did this, and they may not be able to show I would be ignorant to think that YouTube's going to be here forever. I would be ignorant to think that Facebook's going to be here forever. I think those are the most viable networks at this time. I think that's for any podcaster out there. I think those are the two best networks you can hit right now, and is YouTube and Facebook, because that's the best ones out there. But in my mind, on Friday night, when they ran a minute and a half about this guy in Woodland Park that has a YouTube channel or a Facebook, I know that Andrea Canning's story is going into the archives of history. Like, they're not going to erase NBC's news broadcast. That's always going to be out there for people to watch. They may come in and moderate all the YouTube channels in the world. They're starting to do that now. They may come in and moderate all the Facebook channels in the world, and they may kick me off YouTube, and they may kick me off Facebook. But really, the end goal was simply to say, hey, I was there. And when people look up Kelsey's murder, They may not hear all the YouTuber stuff, but they're going to know that YouTube was around. They're going to know that there were other people besides cops and besides lawyers and besides parents and family that were out there searching for justice for Kelsey, simply because someone made it onto one of those little networks that we don't even like. We think that's the end all. Man, those are just puppets. They're a dying breed. And they know they're a dying breed. You know how I know they're a dying breed? Because when I was doing the Dateline interview, Andrea Canning asked me, how do I get over the 25,000 how do I get more than 25,000 followers on Twitter? And I looked at her Twitter and she was at like 22,000. And I was like, well, I'll send you 1,000 followers today. And I did a little, and it was funny because the same people that are on the biggest networks in the world that people from around the world are watching her stuff and they don't know about you or I, you know? And so, and she's worried about, hey, I need to get 5,000 more Twitter followers. I'm not joking. This is a conversation I had with her about it.
Wow.
And these are the same people on these huge networks because they're realizing there are a lot more talented people in the world. You're a lot more talented than 99%. I turned you on for the first time the other day with Jenny. No shit. Turned you on the first time with Jenny. My wife was in here. I had seen you in my channel a couple of times, and I had seen you over at JS for Justice channel, but I didn't know who you were. And I turned you on for the first time. And I mean, within 10 minutes, I told my wife, I was like, this girl's talented. She's real talented. She's going to be fine. She can talk a mile a minute and she'd probably keep up with me. And if you can keep up with me talking, you're doing good. And so.
Well, thank you.
Well, but that's what worries the network people, because there's only 3 networks out there, right? But there's 1 million YouTube broadcasters. And all of a sudden they're realizing that these YouTube, I mean, and there are the kings out there, the guys that actually have, 7 million followers or whatever, right? Those are the kings of YouTube, the kings of content. But there are all these other ones that are all of a sudden, to have 1,000 people following you, or like, I don't know, how many people in your chat? 50 people right now? 20 people? How many people are in here? I'm not looking.
40 right now, yeah.
Okay, so I can't fit 40 people in my house. Right? And you fill a room, and every day that you podcast, let's say we give you a conservative number of 50. I'm sure there's days you're over 50 and there's days you're under 50. But every time you go on, if you sit around 50 people, that's a better audience than anyone had 10 years ago. That's a bigger audience. You had to book a stadium. There have been JS for Justice is a perfect example. She ran that Chris Watts interview the other day, and she had the most live viewership she ever had, 13,000 live viewers.
That is got to be a YouTube record, man. I saw that. No, for how new a channel is, she has so many subscribers, and she had what, more people in her channel on that live channel though? Like she had, because I know she has.
Oh no.
That's got to be. I need to see stats on that because that's freaking nuts.
It's not a record. It's not a record, but for the true crime genre, she crushed everybody.
Oh my gosh,
she crushed everybody, and I loved it, right? Because because I like Jay. And when everyone else was, I was like, wait, she's going to be the queen. And not that you couldn't be a queen too. I'm partial to Jay. But here's an example.
Oh, we all love Jay.
Here's an example. Jay filled an auditorium that seat 13,000 people, and she did it from her living room.
That's freaking amazing.
And that's the story that every YouTuber needs to know, that whether your audience is 1 person or your audience is 50 or your audience is 13,000, you're filling a little room. I was at a comedy show the other day and I did a live video. This was right. I didn't even watch my Dateline shit. And you should never watch your clippings live. I tell this to everyone that I meet, especially YouTubers and news people and speakers and keynote speakers and leaders and CFOs and CEOs. You should never read your clippings. Never do it. Good clippings, bad clippings. Don't ever do it. No, you don't give a shit what people think, so don't read it. Now, I'm not saying don't respond or engage with your followers. That's different. I'm talking about the comments, the people that go on afterwards and make the comments,
Yeah.
You can always engage with your followers. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm telling you not to read your clippings. But I was at a comedy show with some brilliant comedians, but there was only 10 people in the room. And I was like, it's sweet. It's a sweet, this is a sweet show. But if I had this dude on my podcast doing this set, I could get 70 people watching him. I might get 100 people watching him. And that's really what he needs, is he wants viewership, right? And I did a live video afterwards, and they were taking pictures in there. And I was like, I got more people in my live show than we had in this comedy thing. And I didn't say it to downgrade them. It is simply the technology of today. You can fill a room. I fill a room every day with 50 people. And sometimes I talk to them for an hour, and they listen. And that's crazy.
Heck yeah.
But like you said, there's 50 people out there that needed to hear what I said that day. There's 50 people that need to hear what you're going to say today, and you need to hear tomorrow. And today, we have a technology that lets me drive down the road with my phone and have a television show. And that's pretty freaking awesome. So.
Oh, for sure. I agree. I've watched a few people, and when they're on there and they're like, I've got a room of, so many people right now, and I'm an entertainer, and I'm like, I've never really thought about it like that. But yeah, I guess that's exactly how it is. It's not what I came on here to do, but it's exactly what we're doing. We're filling a room.
It's what you did. You wanted to touch people's lives. And you're doing it actually in the most effective way, right? You could go out every day to work, and you could reach someone, one person, two people. You could physically touch people's lives and have conversations with them. And you should do that. I tell people that I tell YouTubers, and have said it to Jay and said it to others and say it to you. You should physically go out and do what you do on YouTube with actual physical people if you're capable, whatever the capability. Maybe you have them over at your house if you're disabled, whatever, because you do not need to disconnect from that physical touch.
Absolutely.
But the community and the method in which you can reach people, this is the most effective method. The fact that you have basically a classroom. You're like a college professor right now. Yeah. At one point, you may become a keynote speaker at a big conference, or even greater still, you may become a rock star in a stadium, depending on how many people are watching. But right now, you're a college professor. You got 40 people. That's what they fit in a college room. That's what they fit in a high school room. And so you look at yourself like I'm giving these lectures, I'm talking, I'm engaging, we're having this discussion, we're teaching people how to communicate. That's what's fun about those call-in shows. Is you're actually teaching people how to communicate with people instead of just live behind the keyboard. But
yeah.
Speaking of trolls, why can't I get a troll one call me? I mean, you can get a device that will disguise your voice, kids. I need a troll to call me on my next call-in show.
I was thinking it was going to happen yesterday. I was waiting. My husband and I were listening for hours. We were waiting. I wanted to see what your response was.
I would have loved it. So there's one YouTuber, and I just posted a repost of her messages to me. I'm not going to say her name, but there's this one YouTuber that started trolling me super early, and she's got some subscribers. She's probably one of my biggest pushers. And as a matter of fact, I know she is, because she hired some people to do some graphics about me. And as soon as you're hiring people to do graphics about Dad, you're my biggest fan. I whether you like me or not, you're still my biggest fan. And so I've been trying to get on her show. I'm like, let me come to your show. I'll bring all of my people. They'll come listen, I promise you. And I can't get her to take the call. And she's not a troll in a sense that she's not one that hides behind the keyboard. She puts her face out there. And so those are the kind of people I want to talk to, is the people that are willing to put their face on screen and talk with me, or on the phone with me and talk. And so not that you're a troll. I'm talking about her. I love doing other people's podcasts. It's more fun for me.
How do you know I'm not a troll?
I hope you are. Say my name. Hey, don't think I haven't done the investigation. As soon as I found out Jenny was on your phone, you can ask JS for Justice. As soon as I found out Jenny was on your show, I texted Jay. I said, "Who's this girl? Who's this girl?" I said, "Who?" I said, "You're messing with." I don't want them to mess with. If they mess with Jenny, I'll freaking slaughter them.
Heck no, Jenny's my girl.
That's a true thing. Well, I know what you're saying, but like Jenny was one of my high school students, right?
I know. She told me. That's so cool.
As soon as I saw that message, she was on your show, I started contacting more. I contacted 3 YouTubers that are in the true crime genre, and I said, "What do you know about this girl?" And they all gave me their little speech about you. And so don't think I know more about you than you think.
Well, hopefully it was good stuff. And, well, maybe you found a troll. I don't know. But, whatever. I'm glad you did the research.
Now I got you all worried and stuff. You're be like, oh, shit.
No, that's okay. I had someone send an email yesterday. Someone sent an email to a few different people from a cell phone number, and they were like, "Who is this girl? I don't know who K Crimes is. Who is this?" And I just started laughing. Like, I told my husband, like, someone's freaking out right now because I was CC'd on an email, and I don't have any problem with this person. It was just hilarious. They had no idea who I was, and they, like, freaked out.
Well, that's what they did on me. I mean, that's kind of what happened with, like, who is dad with the phone? Who is this guy? Everybody was, on Facebook. Because I was on Facebook, and I just kind of got on. The only time I came over to YouTube was the first time I was over on J is for Justice. And that's when all the true crime, or all the crime people woke up. But there's a lot more drama here in the YouTube network. There's a lot more drama in the YouTube network than I've ever faced over at Facebook. So that was kind of fun for me. But
yeah, it's interesting for sure. That
I mess with the cops, right? So I'm not afraid to mess with the dudes with guns if they're messing around. And these YouTubers thought I was going to be afraid of them somehow. I don't know. Like, I got some threats from YouTubers that were like, "You have no idea the war you're about to start." And I was like, shit, this is life, bro. I'm having fun. Let's go. I mean, like, behind a keyboard, what are you gonna do? And then they tried to go physical, like tried to literally troll my family. They started trolling my family, and I haven't talked about this a ton, but the trolls were trolling my sisters, and I was like, do you really think that, like, you can troll my sisters? Like, you're gonna tell them lies about me, and you don't think they're gonna sit here and text me, or they're going to talk to me? I don't know what you were thinking, but they literally started contacting my family members, and they contacted friends of mine and different stuff. And I was like, that's what made it good, because I could talk about it. I was like, these trolls are contacting my family. And when you say that out loud, and if there's 10 people in the room that really like you, watch out, because those 10 people might get vicious, because nobody knows who those are. So much so that I had to apologize to a police officer. The police officer that threw the T-shirt at me, I don't know if you ever saw.
Yeah, I watched that.
Yeah. So this cop threw T-shirt at me, and I was upset, and I said some things to him, and we had words inside there in private, and we got a little heated. So, I'm not gonna say I didn't push his buttons or anything, but about 3 weeks later, we make contact with each other after that incident. We have a conversation via Facebook Messenger, and he's been a cop that I've Facebook messaged for 5 years now. He's a local cop. He's a good cop. And he was like, "Man, Michael, after I threw that shirt at you, I got slammed." I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "All those women that follow you." And I was like, "Dude, I'm sorry. I didn't want that whole night to go down that way." And so we had this conversation. And so, like, that's not a good thing. If you're listening right now, you should not go harass cops at all. I've told you sometimes to go mess with YouTubers, but I can't even do that anymore, because there are people that are out there that are not. There are followers of yours, and there are followers of mine that we've never heard of, and those people do like to harass people online, and there is a justice there. They feel like they're serving justice for me. I'm telling you right now, if you follow me, you do not need to. You shouldn't ever troll anyone. There is no good ramifications from it, except Dad will talk about it. But I'm not a troll, because I'm willing to speak with you face to face, and that's not a troll. A troll hides under a bridge. A troll hides in secret in the shadows. They're the keyboard warriors. If a person is willing to talk to you or physically video chat with you, this is not a troll. This is someone that has a difference of opinion, and let's talk this out and let's have a discussion. But
agreed.
We're troll talking today, girl.
Heck yeah. The trolls under the bridge.
I want to know why your trolls haven't contacted me, Michael.
Come on.
Yeah, I need you to do another live where, hey, hold on. Actually, I have 1 second here. I have to take care of something. 1 second. You can chat amongst yourself. I swear I'll be right back. Like 2 seconds.
No problem.
We'll be
You're
here.
giving me your channel. Ladies and gentlemen, we've just taken over. We've taken True Crime and Truth Finders over. Has been hijacked by Dad with a phone. You need to call the YouTube police. You need to call the copyright people because Dad with the phone has just taken over. You're watching Dad with the phone on True Crime and Truth Finder. I might come on. I need to put a shirt on.
Uh-oh, things are gonna get real. Peppers. Oh, I love it. Anybody know where Michael went?
To speak. Oh, are you there?
Yeah.
Oh, I must have muted myself.
I'm like,
I was
where
like-
did Michael go?
I was like, oh, they left the channel for you. No, I was trying to get dressed and and I must have hit mute. So no, I'm taking over this True Crime Truth Finders show. Where's my
Nice.
camera at?
I don't know. Oh, LA's in the house.
Escape from Colorado Correctional Facility. In Grand Junction. There's been a guy who escaped today.
Oh, come on.
Somebody just escaped. Oh, Dad with the phone. Now am I live on her YouTube? Oh, I will be here in a second. We're in Colorado. This is Woodland Park, folks.
What did I just walk back into?
Oh, this is Dad with the phone. You're watching Dad with the phone. I hacked this girl True Crime Truth Finder show and decided to take over.
Heck yeah!
Thanks for calling in. What can we help you with today?
You know, I just had some questions. I was wondering about your credibility, sir.
My credibility is about as credible as Donald Trump's. So you know what I just did there? I just got 50% of the U.S. to go, this dude's credible. And then the other 50% to say, I freaking hate this guy. That's what you need. 50%. You need 51% love and 49% hate in your life.
Heck yeah.
So next question from our caller.
Who escaped, bro?
Yeah, who escaped?
Somebody in Colorado. I'm on my phone right now. All I did was my wife showed me a Facebook post. The Facebook told me someone escaped today. So Google escape from Colorado Grand Junction.
All right, let's see here.
Somebody's got
You
Google
should tell your wife hi for me.
All right, I will.
Hi,
And
Mom
I'm
with
gonna
phone.
ask her. Nikki? Nick? Oh, never mind. She's in the shower. I was about to say.
Good morning, everyone.
I was just going to. What? Jenny said hi. True Crime Truth Finder says hi. What is your name again?
Caitlin.
Kay.
Caitlin, whatever you want to call me.
This is why I searched you, because I wanted to make sure you weren't part of the other KKs.
No.
The other KKs.
Nope. I'm over here by myself. Didn't join with anybody except for the hubby, and he causes enough trouble for me. That guy. I mean.
You're going to be in trouble now, though.
Oh, for sure.
You realize that, right?
I know. I've brought you on my channel now. I'm screwed, right?
So there's going to probably be about 3 or 4 YouTubers today that are going to do probably a parody video of this one. And
Bring it
I apologize.
on. Bring it on, because then remember, the parodies bring the haters, but they also bring the subs and the likes and the analytics. So screw your hate, bring on the love.
I hope I didn't teach him too much with that. Hopefully we're not giving too much. I don't think the hater can hold himself back, though.
No, I don't think they
they
can.
can't. They can't. It's really, you can tell the troll. You can tell them. And I told them every day I said something to one of the trolls, whether it be in a live video or a message or something. I was like, just say my name. Oh, hi back.
Blizzard tomorrow.
We're having a blizzard tomorrow, they say.
80 mile per hour winds.
That sucks.
And 8 to 15.
What was the name on that guy?
Yeah, we need to know. We need to know.
Okay,
Just give me some info because they're trying to Google it right now.
I just sent you the link.
I'm on my phone.
Oh, you send it to Jenny?
Send it to Jenny then.
Jenny on her phone?
Yeah, send it to Jenny.
Yeah, send it to me and I'll send it over.
She can figure it out. You got to tell the haters to say your name, and then you're like, if you keep saying my name, you know I'm gonna be a superstar, and they don't believe you.
Last night you're leaving at 10 o'clock.
Oh no, I already took care of that message. Oh, well, did you send that to Jenny?
I did, sweetheart.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Nikki.
Hi, Nikki.
He escaped last night.
Nikki's right there.
Hi.
She's in her yoga outfit. Her and Mrs. All the girls are wearing the same yoga outfit right now.
All right, I'm going to message this to you, dear.
Okay, Delta County Sheriff's Office has received reports of possible sightings of escaped inmate Adam Lower in the Grand.
Adam Lower. Look up Adam Lower, and that one will come. Oh.
Let's see what we got here. I know why people hate on you so much. Your wife is freaking gorgeous.
She's freaking hottie. That is the problem.
Dude.
My whole life. I walk into a room, and all of a sudden, people are like, "Are you with that guy? Are you with that guy?"
Hey, I found this guy's mugshot. Holy ish.
Yep, there you go.
Right?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to put this up
Escapee.
here. We're gonna have to move you a little bit. Hold on. Y'all gotta see this
He could
crap.
be anywhere.
He took off on
Wait, he's
Saturday,
been missing since Saturday?
Oh my gosh.
and then they just realized they just noticed he was missing when this morning.
No, they noticed him. The news released it today.
Oh, okay. So he's been missing since Saturday. Muted, right? Am I muted? Oh, shoot. I don't know if I'm there or not.
You're here.
Oh, okay. He's been missing since Saturday, and they just released it today, though. So
I'm gonna have to
Yesterday.
pull this up. This is great. This guy looks like evil.
Shoot, today's right at 12. It's been released for 2 days.
somebody better do a show about this guy tomorrow, tonight, today. Dad with the phone, get off! I gotta go do a show. No.
You do. We need your haters to call in.
El Paso
Oh,
County.
you want me to?
He was convicted in El Paso. Likelihood of him here is strong. Attempting to influence a public officer, criminal impersonation, substance abuse,
Oh,
menacing.
jeez.
Those are a bunch of stacked charges, though.
So he did something stupid.
Yeah, he probably did. He probably pleaded. But how did he get out? Does it say how he escaped?
Let me look at another.
Did he
article.
pull a Ted Bundy out the
So
window?
he escaped out of
Do we
Delta.
just have really shitty prisons or what?
Well, he
What,
escaped
Delta?
out of
Yeah.
Delta Correctional Facility.
What did I say? Coerced?
Yeah, that's what out of Delta, Colorado. But he was wanted out of, or he was convicted out of El Paso County or something.
So they're looking in the Grand Junction area.
That's
Yep.
who they're looking for.
Oh, I really got to do work now. Oh, wait, I need.
Yeah, he's been
All right.
cited in Grand Junction, so that'll be interesting.
Well, if he's been cited there, that's better than not being seen.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
if they're announcing that though now, that means he's probably
That
gone.
was 3:08 p.m.
Yeah, for sure.
Yesterday. Law enforcement searched several areas and neighborhoods in Grand Junction Monday, apparently looking.
All right, Kay and Jenny, truth, crime, truth finders. I think I'm calling it a morning. Thank you guys for waking me and getting me out of bed.
Heck yeah, well, I'll see you when you go on, whenever that is, and I'll be on to troll you, because that's just what I'm going to do.
All right. Well, make sure if you're gonna troll me, all I do is ask that you go share my YouTube to all the Facebook pages and groups, because that's where I like to hack is the Facebook pages and groups. So if you'll just go share my video over at the Facebook groups, you'll help the trolls find me. So, thanks.
I'm not trolling you. I'm supporting you. I have my mom watching Dateline for the first time ever, because I told her that someone that I had talked to prior was going to be on there. So I've even influenced my family who doesn't. My dad's a Dateline junkie, but my mom, she thinks we're crazy. So
Tell your mom that you had Dad with a phone on your show. You're it's you and Jay. It's you and Jay that's had the only other ones that had me, and you had Andrea Canning. So you got the same interview Andrea Canning got.
Oh shit, we've got the dad with the phone exclusive over here.
You didn't get to drive around Woodland Park in the Jeep though, so
I'm gonna have to make a trip out there and make that happen. I'm gonna need the dad with the phone tour.
October, I'm giving the dad with the phone tour October 11th, 12th, and 13th at the Colorado Crime Con 2K19. You can send in your video application via coloradocrimecon@gmail, and you have to go answer a bunch of questions. You can go find those questions over at Dad with the Phone on Facebook, or Woodland Park Underground, or JS for Justice podcast on Facebook. So thank you so much.
Well, Dad, you should know all those answers to my questions if you really checked me out, right?
It's confirmation. I'm just getting confirmation. Okay. When I go back to my sources and be like, hey, this was right about her, this was wrong about her, this is why, that's how I check things out.
Now I need to know what these people say. Hopefully it's all good, but you know what?
See, I got you. Now, see, you're on the hook.
Thanks.
See, I told you something, and now you won't be able to sleep at night tonight because you'll be like, Dad said that he talked to these people and asked them about me, and they said something, but he didn't tell me what they said. Isn't that what you're... That's how dads are supposed to mess with their
You've
kids.
got in my head. Get out of my freaking head.
All right. So, hey, listeners, you guys make sure to send some extra love towards Kay because she's a little confused right now. She's like, what just happened? And let me tell you something. I did this. I hope they kind of showed a little bit, but they didn't. Let me put it this way. I got in Andrea Canning's head too. And I get in Jay's head, and I got in your head. I probably got into a bunch of other heads. You're not the only one, so I feel bad.
All right. Well, then I'm a part of it.
All right, I'm out of here.
Does that count?
Bye.
What? Bye.
Your wife got in my head.
Oh, I know. That was awesome. Thank you, Jenny. Thanks for this introduction.
Thank you for coming
superstar.
On. Thanks for Jenny. Jenny's going to be the next superstar, so.
Hey, are you related to John Crimes?
I am not. That is actually not even my last name.
I know it's not your last name. I was messing with you.
Come on, we spell it different, okay? No.
I just had to say John's name, right?
You have to say his name. I love watching him. I love his commentary. It's amazing.
I am going to get on that show just so I can be the bald white dude next to the bald black dude.
That's awesome.
But we'll see if he'll let me on. All right. Well, hey, we'll talk to you later, ladies. I'll be on in a little bit. I'll
be waiting.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, Jenny, I've got to be productive with my life now, so I guess I'm going to get off your tail. All right, y'all. I appreciate everybody. I think we had a really good chat. I know I came on here just like wanting to talk about anything, and I feel like we kind of opened the doors to who we are, and I feel like we did some good here. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm just... Dad with the phone freaking got in my head, so I had to say something good. So, I don't know. Send him some love, y'all. Dad with the phone. Woodland Park Underground, too. And maybe he'll get that channel back. And JS for Justice. Go check out my friends, John Crimes, Duty Ron, and Irby Herb. And until next time, y'all.
Peace.
Bye.